I also saw the side-by-side documentary. It's on demand.
Oh, yeah.
Right now.
How was that?
I've been looking forward to it for a while because I kept hearing about it. Keanu Reeves produces it and he hosts it. He kind of interviews all the subjects in it, and it has dozens of subjects from James Cameron, Lars von Trier, David Fincher, various cinematographers, and even actors are thrown into the mix, and studio people. It's about the digital revolution versus traditional celluloid, and how celluloid is dying. What are the pros and cons of a digital film world, and blah blah blah. A lot of the argument is moot because we're already there. Film is going to become obsolete, or certainly a lot more rare. So it seems like kind of a moot argument, but it does raise some interesting issues. One of which I hadn't thought of previously, which is storage. Because years from now, I mean, the storage might kind of change how these films are stored, and maybe we'll lose films just flat out because of that issue.
Right.
But we lose films anyway because of deterioration, and it costs many hundreds of thousands of dollars to restore the few that we invest in. But I think that George Lucas made the best point in the movie, I thought, when he said, since the 1880s, whenever cinema started, to now, I think celluloid has advanced as far as it possibly can. But digital, there's no telling where it can go. Just look where it's gone in the past 10 years alone. So, I mean, we could really be looking at an advancement. So if you're not on board with digital, you truly are behind the times. And I'll be honest with you, Christopher Nolan absolutely seems to be behind the times in this documentary.
Yeah, I mean, what does he have to say? What were his...
just the observations he's made before, that the so-called benefits of digital, that it's cheaper, which isn't necessarily the case, but it's more kind of flexible, or you don't have to cut, you don't have 10-minute reels that you have to change, or magazines rather, and he had an answer to every one of those points, but it just seemed like stubborn avoidance of reality, and what many, many, many more people actually embrace.
Well, the storage thing is actually a very big. That is, I would have to say, the strongest argument for going digital, because that's a big deal. That's an enormous deal. I didn't even think about that till you brought it up, but just thinking about that, that's a huge.
Yeah, but also, I mean, Lucas said, look, they know about that problem. They're going to work to fix it. But with digital, just by the nature of what it is, I mean, it's a lot more durable than film. And for cinematographers, it takes away the guesswork, because they don't have to wait until the dailies the next day to figure out what they got, or if they got what they intended to. There's a lot of benefits that creative people find from digital. So
my biggest problem with just to switch over to film is less on the filmmaking side, because they can do whatever they want. That's fine. If it makes their job easier, that's great, and expands their list of possibilities that they can achieve. That's okay. I have no problem with that. But I still like looking at movies on film. I still enjoy that experience. I get something different out of it than I do just looking at a digital screen. It's a digital projection, and I really have a problem with the death of all film. I don't know why they just can't keep a few film prints going along, and just put things out there in digital, but keep a few film prints out there going. Because I don't like the effect that's going to have on a great number of theaters around the country who are going to be left with nothing to show because they can't convert to digital. I don't like the idea that only digital is ever going to be available. They're not going to send out any more prints, anything. What that's going to do is it's going to lessen the number of choices that those theaters that do convert to digital, that are like repertory theaters, reduce the number of choices that they have of things to show. In other words, you're not going to be able to have a huge William Castle retrospective at the Film Forum or whatever, because a lot of those things are not going to be available on digital to project. So you're not going to be able to get the more obscure things because they haven't been converted over, and it's going to reduce those things. Finally, my number one, another huge thing is I don't like what it spells for drive-ins because I enjoy going to the one drive-in that's here, 6 screens, so it's basically 6 drive-ins. But there's still drive-ins around the country, and I don't like the idea of that American institution just being swept away in one fell swoop just because they don't want to put,
right.
film prints out there.
Well, well, a couple of devil's advocate arguments. In terms of drive-ins, I mean, that's a tradition that's been dying for years, and there's only like a couple of hundred screens left in the country.
I think it's about 400 to 500.
And secondly, I understand the argument that some people just like the texture and the experience of film, but I think it's probably going to be comparable to people that prefer vinyl over CD. That's
a good analogy.
Because they like the purity of the scratches and all that kind of stuff.
Well, now we have more vinyl being made now than has been made in the past 20 years.
I think that very well may be what we see in our future, where film will be a niche market, where it'll be like a throwback director that comes in. I'm going to shoot this movie in film, and people make a big deal out of that. He's actually going back and shooting it in film. I mean, that's a possibility.
These are all good points. These are all valid points. So,
but I mean, a film in terms of presentation is so hit and miss, and with splices, with tears, with scratches, with varying colors in between reel changes. The color timing issue with digital is a major consideration too, because in post they can manipulate the image exactly as they want it to. In film, everybody says it's damn near impossible to get a properly color timed print, much less 4,000 of them out there. So I mean, presentations I find will be better. But I understand the purity argument and wanting to see the emulsion and all of that kind of stuff at work. But
I kind of like scratches and cigarette burns and splices and.
You're talking about in films or in your?
Yeah, I do. I like seeing that. I like seeing that in films. I like those sort of plastic elements of movies.
Yeah.
I like there's that feeling. I don't need that, feeling of being there like I'm there watching a football game or whatever, I don't need that feeling of, wow, it's so real, it's like I'm there. I don't want that. I want that sort of screen that's literally being put in front of, between me and the image.
Yeah.
It just creates some kind of dreamy quality that I prefer.
Yeah, I mean that's just the argument whenever another evolution of technology appears. It's we're going, what are we losing? What are we gaining? And you try to weigh the two. But in the end, I mean, filmmaking has always been about technology, but more than anything, it's just been a platform to tell stories, and that's something that will never change. So, I mean, in that sense, I don't see the death of film being like as tragic as some people make it sound. It's not the end of anything necessarily, because we go to the movies to enjoy a good story and to relate to characters. And we can do that, whether it's shot on film or digital.
I think it's just as long as we have theaters to go to, I hope. I mean, that's really
And the fact of the matter is, some DPs have done incredible stuff with digital. I mean, you think of Anthony Dodd Mantle, who was the guy that shot the first digital video movie with the Dogma 95 movement.
Mm-hmm.
It's the movie about the wedding, or what was it called? It was
A Celebration.
A Celebration.
Yeah,
that's an incredible movie. Oh my God, that's a crazy movie.
He shot it on a little bitty handheld thing. You fast forward 10 years or whatever it was with Slumdog Millionaire, his photography in that on digital. Amazing looking movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, that's how far this technology has advanced in just that little amount of time.